I saw him in the American Conference Tournament. Saw him against SMU at SMU. So I think as far as scouting him, and then our other scouts, I think probably live. If I had to guess the number, I haven't looked at it. I'd say maybe 10 times we saw him as a staff this year, just this year.
You personally, was there a play or something that stands out to you can remember in person?
You know what? I don't think. Again, trying to recollect a game and a player, a specific play. I would say more importantly with him is, you just noticed him on the floor because the ball was generally in his hands. Though they had a point guard, generally the ball was in his hands at critical times, whether they needed a basket for him to score or set his teammates up. He's a very skilled player for a wing guy, which I think fits well with our team currently, because he can handle the ball as a secondary ball handler. He can play in pick and roll. He's a really good passer. He's got good vision, and then if he needs to go score, he's a good mid-range jump shooter. He needs to improve his three-point percentage, but I think that he'll be able to be a corner three shooter soon. I'm not sure he's at the top of the key going to be one of those guys, but I know that he can get into the mid-range and make shots that way. So it wasn't any particular part of the game, but just his presence on the floor offensively with the ball, and then defensively he was always in position, either on the ball or off the ball, and made the right plays defensively.
Jake was saying after his second workout that he likes to get under guys' skins, and he likes to play really tough. Did you see any examples of that?
Well, I think he just probably talked to Draymond after we drafted him, because Draymond said, "You better be bringing it." Again, it's certainly if that's the way he feels like he's going to play, that benefits us. I don't remember a scouting report that said I feel like I'm watching Draymond Green, for the Cincinnati Bearcats. But I did notice him defensively on a serious note, that he was a guy that did get up into guys. He was not afraid of contact. Physicality was not an issue for him. Very competitive. But junkyard dog, if he's got it, we're anxious to see that too. We'll just add that to the resume.
What I saw online was some before and after pictures of him.
Hopefully they were appropriate.
No,
pictures. Okay, good. In this world, you never know, right?
Body transformation.
Okay.
And on the before picture, he was, ordinary body. And the other picture, he was like the 6-pack, 8-pack dude. I mean, were you aware of that? And is that just a product of hard work? I mean,
I think it is. I mean, he's always been a kid that's been very fit and toned. He's never one, when you've watched him play, and even if you saw him here work out, where you ever felt like he was a guy that's ever going to be out of shape. Guys working out today, I mean, I'm not surprised, but and players love taking their shirts off, as you saw at the parade. Yes. We like to do that. Even if we don't have the 6-pack, we like taking the shirt off. It's part of the deal. But look, like anything else, I would say, Jacob, keep your clothes on. But if you're going to take your shirt off and you've got some kind of agenda, at least have a body to go with it, right? Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, very impressive. And that is him. That's not a picture of what he'd like to look like. You never know with technology today. It's impressive. No question about it. How long ago? When was this? I can't see. 2015? 2 years?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. And is this his girlfriends below in the picture?
I think that's
right. No, I think those are Clay's friends. Oh, those are Clay's friends. Okay.
But I saw one of the associate head coach at Cincinnati was saying that he did that with work by. Other guys were out goofing off, and said he was in the gym, he was hitting the weights, he was doing all those things. I mean, I'm sure that's the kind of thing you want to hear about.
Let's put it this way: I didn't know of that, but I can say that I'm not surprised by that either. So, because when you see guys, that's 2 years ago or whatever, you know what he looked like. But when I saw him 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said, "Wow, he really needs to," where's his body fat percentage and all that stuff. He's always going to be a slender type of athlete anyway. But it's impressive, and you know what? He realizes what he needs to do to get his body right, and I'm anxious to see him with us, with our medical staff, and even some of the things that we can continue to work on him. I think we can actually make him even better than what he's got right now.
What did you see from him offensively?
And it kind of gets back to the same old thing. I saw a guy that's comfortable with the ball in his hands, so he can make a play for himself. but he also understands spacing and where, whatever offense he's involved in, he knows where the ball, like getting the ball to the particular person, whether it be Klay or Steph or Katie, on time and on target. Those guys generally aren't going to have to catch a ball at their shoelaces or, way up here. He's got an idea of how to play with the ball in his hands. I think where he's really good is when he can get into the mid-range, where he can take his dribble that get him to 15, 17 feet, pull up and get there. Things, like I said, he needs to work on. I think he needs to work on his three-point shooting above the break, and then finishing at the rim he could get better at. And we're aware of that, and I think we can help him even get stronger. I think we can help him work on his body to be able to play through contact. But he's not afraid to get there. He doesn't shy away from contact. But there's just a different level from college to the NBA, as you guys know, that even guys that are great finishers in college, they're never going to see the size and strength and quickness. It's just a different finishing level. And even with guards and small forwards, they have to learn runners and floaters and things, because you just can't continually get to the basket like you were able to, and he was able to do in college.
How about his shot blocking from, I guess, kind of the two-guard position? I think he was averaging about one a game. He had some highlight reels.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's just his knowledge, his feel for the defense, the defensive end of the floor. I think that'd be more of a weak side, a guy coming to penetration, coming off of his guy. Again, when they switched and did things defensively, he would guard fours and things, so he could get switched off to different type positions. I just think it's his IQ and his knowledge of when to come, and he's athletic enough, and most of these guys are in college at his level, that you get a straight run at somebody. That's why they love the vertical numbers, that the vertical testing, that you give Jacob a run where he's weak side and a guy's coming, he can come from the weak side 2 or 3 steps away. I think he's got enough athletic ability to go block shots, but that helps. But it's not if you said what are the 3 or 4 things he does well, I wouldn't have said shot blocking is one of those, but I think that's just a byproduct of him knowing the defensive end of the floor and the schemes you're trying to do.
Any two-way guys you guys are looking at?
You know what? I will say this for you guys. I don't know what Bob told you, but we tried, man. I know that people were texting us, when are you getting a pick in the second round? Who's getting the money? We tried. And not because that other teams weren't amenable to doing things. It just felt like this year, more than anything else, it was money and picks. It wasn't just financial. And I don't know how it ended up turning out here, but I don't remember a lot of cash transactions being done. And I'm not saying that we set the precedent for that. It just, a lot more trades and movement that were made around had more to do with second round picks and future picks and stuff like that rather than money. As far as two ways, we tried a couple guys in the second round, and they both ended up getting drafted, but we had a chance, and we thought one of the guys was right near the end of the second round and ended up getting drafted, which is good for him. But I think we may end up not doing any two ways like we did Boucher right out of the box, but we certainly had 2 or 3 guys in mind, and like I said, 2 of them ended up getting drafted, and I think we backed off the third.
Do you happen to remember which games you saw of his?
Well, it would have been in the tournament, would have been against Memphis, and it may have been the second round down in Florida, and then the SMU game was at SMU. Milton was hurt. They spanked him bad. I mean, they put it on pretty good. And then I'm trying to think if there was a third game somewhere, if it was at Cincinnati or not, but those two come to mind right away, for sure.
And then watching a lot of film.
Yeah. And the thing was we don't generally bring guys back in for second workouts. Now, we did just a few this year, more on matchups, but Jacob was a guy, ironically it turns out, was a guy we got late, and he was going to attend another work, and I think we pulled him out of that. I think he may have been, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was supposed to go to Boston, and he ended up coming back here. And it was just a chance for us to, and he went through the same workout, so it wasn't like, well, what did he do different from workout 1 to workout 2? It was just another chance to confirm what we thought we knew and just spend a little more time with him. But you guys will get a chance to know him. I think you probably interviewed him when he was here. Did he get a chance with some of you guys after the first workout? I don't know your impressions, but hopefully it'll be good enough if you haven't. That I think he's got a good presence, a good understanding of who he is, and he'll be a good pro.
On that second workout you're talking about, did he want to come back?
I think so. You never know. I mean, the agents drive a lot of this, but we certainly showed our interest and said, look, we don't bring guys back for a second workouts just to get a chance for you to, eat here at a restaurant or spend some time at the Marriott, which is a great Marriott, and I'm sure there's a lot of great restaurants, but it was just a chance for just one more time to say, you know what, when a guy comes back a second time, is he going to go through the motions because he's kind of been through it, or you know what, you brought me here for a reason. Let me show you what I didn't get to show you the first time. So I thought he didn't do anything better or worse, but you could just tell, like, you know what, this is a serious deal, and I'm gonna approach it that way.
We talked to you a little bit about Draymond's involvement. What were his thoughts on Jacob throughout the
You know what, I think what he saw about him more was his defensive intensity. He saw, you know what, especially the second time he came, just defensively getting his hands on, you know, guys didn't get by him. He made a couple plays offensively that were like, wow, okay, but defensively, you know, Draymond's like, that's a guy that can fit into what we're doing. And it was interesting that after we chose him, and you know, you get on the phone and you get a hold of him, you got the agent gives him the phone and everything, and they said, hey, I think it was Kirk, if I'm not mistaken. Kirk gave it. I don't know if you talked to Steve before or whatever. He talked to Steve first, and then Kirk got the phone, and then Kirk said, hey, we got Draymond wants to talk to you. He's ready. You better be ready for him because he's going to come after you. And so Draymond got on the phone, and I don't know what they said. I didn't pay attention to it. But afterwards, he handed the phone to Bob. Bob spoke to him, then Joe did, and Draymond, after they get off the phone, Draymond goes, you know, it took me back to my day of being drafted. He was so excited on the phone. He said he was so elated to just talk to me. You could just tell his excitement to be a Warrior. And he goes, that just brings me back to when I got drafted, you know. And I think that moment in time, you could just tell that Draymond was reflecting, going, wow, you know, that special time is like this is one thing he'll never forget. So it was cool.
With Draymond spending the week with you guys.
It was too much. It was too much.
Do you think this?
Well, we didn't invite him back next year. We didn't invite him back next year. We're going to bring another one. I don't know who it'll be, Jordan Bell maybe or somebody. But in all seriousness, Draymond was truly engaged in the process. I mean, no disrespect to NBA players, but when your season's over, they're not hanging in your city unless you're in Oakland or you're in San Francisco, maybe Miami, Chicago, New York. So he wanted to come. You know, we told him, here's when we're working out. He showed up before. Here's the workout. He stayed. When are we meeting? Go upstairs. I mean, 4 or 5 hours the last 2 or 3 days, and engaged in watching film. He was never on his phone. He never had his phone around. It wasn't like he's bored or whatever. He was completely engaged and had opinions, was listening, engaging, and even in the draft tonight, it felt like it was like, in a lot of ways, it was like KD's first experience in there. He could, the activity, and it's not that we did anything differently than any other 29 teams. It was just the activity and the phone calls and what's going on, who's picking what, and the tension of, oh, he went, and oh man, we wanted that guy, and so he got to see the emotions of what it's like, because you know. You think about it, in a 3-hour time span, it's 9 months of your work. Now, if you go back years, like Jacob Evans, it wasn't like he was a freshman. Just all the time spent to see him play year after year, and then all of a sudden, here we are finally getting a guy that truly was on our board, truly was a guy that we did like, obviously. And you get a chance to get him, and he's like, wow, you know. And it really came down to 1 or 2 picks that he wouldn't have been there. I mean, it was literally Boston's pick. And it's like, okay, we're sitting there going, is our guy going to be there? You know, is the guy that we have on our board still, is he going to be there? And luckily, Robert Williams was their flavor of the day.
Do you think that's something that could seriously interest him down the line as far as?
You know what? I think he's got a lot of interest. I think he loves basketball. I think he's, you know, as a player, he's one of the brightest, sharpest minds there is on both sides of the basketball. I think he's intrigued. I don't know if he's intrigued in coaching or management. I haven't asked him, and nor did he say, like, hey, this is cool, this is what I want to do. But I think anything around basketball, and I think more helping youth and younger people seem to be where he's more trending. But he has a personality, and it's interesting because on the floor he's much different than off the floor. And you get the competitive spirit without all that edge when you're off the floor, which is great to have because you can tell he's sincere. You know, it's one thing to have a player come in and join you and he just kind of goes through the motions. It's like, hey, this is kind of cool, I'm out. I'll show up one day and I'm out. I mean, it was every day. And KD was similar to that way. Not so much the workouts, but he wanted to get into the process first. So